Kansas, the #2 seed, the highest seed remaining in the West, against the Broncos of Santa Clara. 18:20 left in the first half. One basket, that was a three-pointer by Jared Hass. There's Steve Nash, #11. He'll run things for Santa Clara. Now inside, this is done underneath. Won't go. That's blocked by Pollard. And here come the Jayhawks.
Great work inside by both teams.
LaFrance.
The Broncos must get back on defense, even though Kansas has a big front line. Those fellas all run very, very well. Important for the Broncos to not give up easy baskets.
This is Sedlock. Rebound Hass. Quickly to Vaughn.
The words Vaughn and quickly just go together very easily and smoothly. Vaughn looking to push at every opportunity he gets.
Pass now. LaFrance. Over Sedlock. Jayhawks are out to a 7-0 lead.
Sedlock at 6'7", LaFrance 6'10", 6'11". Using his height advantage very effectively on that possession.
This is Nash against Vaughn. That's short. LaFrance comes away with it. Vaughn quickly. Down low to Pollard with a jam.
And Dick Davey wants a timeout right away. They're going to take it 20.
Nothing. The Jayhawks charge out of the gate.
The Kansas Jayhawks can get the ball inside as well as run in transition. Too easy on that particular possession. Jacques Vaughn with a great pass.
Well, let's run through our starters for Santa Clara. Graves, the transfer from Cal, anchors the middle. Dunn and Sedlock at the forwards, and in the backcourt, Nash and Marlon Garnett. Arizona awaits the winner in the Sweet 16.
I think it's important for Santa Clara to get some points on the board early. You don't want to get yourself behind by 12 or 15 points to a Kansas team.
Garnett for three. Dunn comes away with it. Throws it away. Hass. Uncontested. 11-0. Kansas.
And Steve Nash holds up his hand and tells his teammates, let's just calm down. They're down 11-0. It's extremely important they get a basket on this possession. Offensive foul. And Hass drew the charge, and he got hit in the nose doing it.
They get Graves. That's his first.
Hass comes with the help and just really gets an elbow right under the chin. We're told that the Kansas players went someplace to see the Tyson Bruno fight last night. They probably saw a few of those coming up under the chin in that particular event.
Pierce. Dunn in the air, and he's fouled. On the floor for Kansas, all five of their starters in double figures. They got that big front line. Frentz, Pollard, and Pierce. Vaughn and Hass in the backcourt. We want to remind you that in just a few minutes, we'll be sending some of you to see Texas Wake Forest. That's a 5:08 tip, and we'll keep you up to date on this game. The score and highlights. Pierce now, 57% foul shooter.
That Texas Wake Forest game features the second game of the day between the state of Texas and the state of North Carolina. The first one, Texas Tech and North Carolina, working out very well for the state of Texas. Hass sitting over there on the bench looking for the tooth fairy, maybe.
Second one doesn't go. Graves comes down with it. Here comes Nash. Off the screen by Zurich. Three is short. Robertson, who's checked in for Hass, comes down with the rebound. And here's Jacques Vaughn. Robertson. Graves pulls it down. Nash to Zurich on the wing.
Zurich is an excellent three-point shooter.
Santa Clara's first bucket.
1 for 10.
That came at 15:11 on the clock. Here's Vaughn in traffic. Dunn, the outlet to Nash.
Well, that's a tough pass.
Pollard is right there. Vaughn as Nash tries to catch up. LaFrance knocks it down from the foul line.
LaFrance can shoot it from out there. LaFrance giving the sign that says he's tired, he needs to take a break. That's the secondary break for Kansas. The guy's coming down, taking that little jump shot from the free throw line.
Vaughn created the pressure, and now here he is to lead the transition. Here's Zurich with the rebound.
This is a pace that's much in favor of the Kansas Jayhawks, and Nash, recognizing that, slows it down. Man-to-man defense for Kansas.
These two teams met last season. Kansas won 80-75. Nash scored 20. Marlon Garnett had 26. Nash fouled out of that game. Jacques Vaughn was in foul trouble for much of the second half. He ended the game with 4. Zurich for 3. 14-5.
Zurich entering the game a 40% shooter from out beyond the three-point arc, and if he can hit some of those, that'll pull the Kansas big guys away from the basket.
Kansas getting ready to bring in the second line. 4 players waiting to enter the game. LaFrance hits the turnaround. He has 8.
First thing you have to do against Kansas is to shut off the baseline. They'll go down there and they'll attack you inside until you demonstrate you can take it away.
Nash down low to Graves.
That's a good move.
Count it. First bucket for Graves.
It's important that the Kansas big guys be attacked on the inside, too. Graves, first team all West Coast Conference, catches the ball nicely in stride. That's an excellent pass. Big, strong young man powers it up to the basket.
Well, that's 2 now on LaFrance. They're going to check it now. They walked over the bench.
Roy Williams, you saw him reacting. That's number 2 on Pollard. Roy Williams was smiling for a moment because he thought they had changed it and put it on. In other words, the foul is on LaFrance. Roy Williams was smiling because he thought it had been changed to Pollard. It's got Pollard coming over. Now LaFrance is nowhere in the neighborhood. Roy Williams is absolutely right. That foul is not on LaFrance. That's on Pollard.
Well, in a rarity, the 2 coaches met at center court to talk it over.
Correction, last foul on the Jayhawks, number 31.
Okay, they corrected it. So that is
Pollard raising his hand over on the bench.
Graves now. 13-0.
Battle of the backcourts, there's a couple of things to look at. First of all, Nash and Garnett are bigger scorers at 30.2 points a game. Santa Clara has to have offense from them. Haas and Vaughn, on the other hand, they're very adept at stealing the basketball, and that's something that Santa Clara has to be concerned about. That young man, Nash, in particular, if you turn it over to the Jayhawks in the backcourt, generally, they're going to get it up and get an easy basket.
Mass substitution for Kansas on the floor. T.J. Pugh, B.J. Williams, Sean Pearson, Jared Haas, and Jacques Vaughn. Kansas very deep off the bench. Inside, Williams.
And that's Lloyd Pierce coming over and creating the foul. And, you know, Jared Haas, back in the ball game, created that with his hustle. And we saw earlier in the game Haas take an elbow to the mouth. It's important to remember that last summer, while he was trying out for the United States World University Games team, that he lost 2 teeth and actually required surgery to repair his mouth after taking an elbow in the mouth during tryouts. So no laughing matter for Jared Haas to get smacked in the mouth.
Williams hits the first. 17-8. Second won't go. That's tapped outside, and Vaughn will get it. Pass. Pearson watches the 3.
Oh, what a great rebound by Haas.
Steps up. This is a 3. Knocks it down. Haas got off to that quick start on Friday against South Carolina State.
Seemingly he's found his 3-point stroke in this tournament.
Lob pass, and Vaughn was in the way.
And Vaughn finally gets called for the hold. That's exactly what Jacques Vaughn was doing, Bill. You described it perfectly. He was in the way. And when you're 6'10", 240 pounds, you don't take much notice of the little guy. Vaughn, just trying to protect himself in there, gets called for the foul.
Pugh came in as a reinforcement. They get Graves. Cutting to the middle, that won't go. Zurich can't hang on, and here's Haas. He'll take it.
Haas was 4 of 5 from 3-point range yesterday.
Nash with the rebound.
Excuse me, on Friday.
Nash will reset it. Zurich now for 3. Last touched by Graves. 20-8, Kansas.
Leads by 12, and that young man right there, Jared Haas, a big reason for it. After struggling with his 3-point shooting all year, he hit 4 of 5 in the first round. Carol Haas, Jared's mother, looking on, and you have to know that she was concerned when he got knocked to the ground, took an elbow in the mouth a little earlier.
Santa Clara shooting just 20% to start the game. 3 of 15.
A lot of that has to do with the aggressive Kansas defense, and the Kansas defenders also have good size. It's tough to get an easy shot.
This is Williams. Pass. That's way short. And here comes Nash.
Nice job by Kansas to get back on defense. Nothing easy thus far for Santa Clara. Kansas contesting every pass and every shot. And of course, that's what Roy Williams wants to see. You mentioned that he plays pretty much 11 guys, rotates them in and out, always has fresh people, expects them to play very hard on both ends of the court. And when they get tired, they raise their fist and take themselves out of the game. And the rule is, if you take yourself out, you can put yourself back in.
Well, Sedlock and Anderson have now checked in for Santa Clara.
Oh, what great effort by Jacques Vaughn inside, stepping in front of Sedlock, and then Sedlock commits the foul. The key to that whole sequence was the job that Pierce, watch Pierce move his feet and stay in front of Nash, and as a result, Nash has a tough pass to make, and Vaughn just slithers through there. Sedlock thinks he's got pretty good position, but Vaughn, even though he's not very big and he's noted for his quickness, is strong as well.
5 turnovers for Santa Clara, none for Kansas.
Friends working for position inside. He's had an excellent start to this game, and he's got another one.
10 for LaFrance.
They can't stop him inside.
22-8 Kansas lead. Sedlock. This is Anderson.
Garnett with the ball. He has yet to take a shot at this game.
That was a nice lob pass inside to Zurich. 12-point Kansas lead. Just over 10 minutes left to play in the first half. Haas with the rebound. LaFrance.
LaFrance is going to have 498 points if he keeps this up.
Got 12 to start. Nash waiting to come in. Nice move to the bucket. Counted by Lloyd Pierce.
Lloyd Pierce, considered by the Bronco coaching staff to be the most athletic player on the team, Shows you some quickness out on the perimeter as he gets to the basket. That foul is against LaFrentz. You remember we had the controversy before whether or not LaFrentz had picked up his second foul. Now he has.
Meanwhile, Jacques Vaughn goes to the bench. Calvin Rayford checks in. Zurich. Air ball.
Broncos pressing a little bit, Bill. They need to just relax.
Rayford. Pierce.
Kansas has so many weapons, and they can come at you from so many different directions. Kansas is a very difficult team to play in your second game of a tournament like this. You just need more time to prepare than the 24 hours that you have. Kansas, because they do so many things.
Jayhawks by 14. Three doesn't go. Rayford comes away with it. 5'7" senior. Pollard. Zurich tried to get the charge. Pollard lays it up and in.
Excellent recognition out on the perimeter by Kansas. Zurich went down. Pollard got his hands up in the air, asked for the ball, and they got it to him.
Anderson. Zurich slapped away by Pollard. Anderson with the turnover. Back comes Santa Clara. This is Garnett.
Kansas has really forced an up-tempo game. I think the game is being played just a notch or two higher than Santa Clara wants to play.
Garnett for three. Kansas lead is 13. Pollard is mugged underneath.
And those big guys for Kansas, they work hard on the defensive end. They get in good rebounding position, and then they get out and they run the floor. That is a difficult combination to deal with, and Santa Clara hasn't dealt with it very well early.
They got Drew Zurich with the foul as Steve Nash checks back in, along with Dunn and Graves.
Scott Pollard will shoot two.
Pollard is 64% foul shooter. This is the first.
And speaking of free throws, Nash, who was 17 for 18 from the free throw line in the first round, hasn't gotten to the free throw line through the first 12 minutes and 7 seconds of this half.
29-15 Kansas.
Kansas out to the 14-point lead early. You know, coaches are very fond of talking about working for position inside. Watch Rafe LaFrentz in the circle at the right-hand part of your screen. This is what coaches mean when they talk about working for position inside. He battles Sedlock, then finally gets the excellent pass from Jarrett Hass and scores. LaFrentz works very hard, but the backcourt for Kansas finds him when he's open.
LaFrentz is 6 of 6. Santa Clara shooting under 30%.
Jayhawks in a 1-3-1 zone coming out of that timeout.
Nash guarded by Vaughn. Shot clock under 10.
A great pass.
Done. Rebound Kansas, and here come the Jayhawks. Williams.
Bill, one of the keys to being a great defensive team is how you react to plays the offense makes. Nash made a great pass inside, but the Kansas defense reacted, made it a difficult shot, and then turned the miss into an easy basket down on the other end.
Garnett for three.
Thomas stepped on the line.
Santa Clara gets a break.
Nash has really yet to get going in this game.
Nash. Penetration denied by Kansas. Dunn will try. Great defense from the Jayhawks. Garnett. Vaughn gets way up in the air and brings it down. Under 6.5 minutes left to play here in the first half. Nash with the rebound off the errant shot by Thomas.
Every time Nash goes off a screen, they double team him.
Good penetration. Let's see if Graves can finish. Foul.
That foul is called against Pierce.
That's his first.
Sedlock comes out of the game. One of the reasons Steve Nash is struggling is his teammates set screens for him at various points on the court. And every time he tries to go off one of those screens, Kansas double teams him. The man who's guarding the screener steps out, they double team Nash. What they're trying to do is prevent Nash from shooting the ball. What his teammates have to do, the screener has to cut someplace where Nash can throw him the ball, make Kansas pay for that particular maneuver. He's a great passer. If his teammates will move, he'll find him.
Well, Santa Clara bringing in a little more size with Phil Von Buchwald, who's a 6'11" senior. He's actually from France, a suburb of Paris. 5:50 left to go in the first half. 31-16. This is Graves. Turnover. Vaughn. Nash for three. And here comes Kansas. Thomas knocks it down. The Jayhawks lead by 20.
Kansas leads it by 20, and Jacques Vaughn has the throttle wide open in the transition game. Gets away with a walk right here as he takes the jump step and gets it to go in the basket. Why is Kansas playing so well? Well, the intensity of Jacques Vaughn, a pretty good indication. You know, however, Bill, that Santa Clara coaching staff looked like the Temptations after that last Jacques Vaughn move, trying to signal for the travel.
That doesn't go, and the poor shooting for Santa Clara continues. Williams. With the follow. That's 5 now for Williams.
Boy, the Jayhawks look dominant early. And Nash has been completely shut off.
Williams comes away with it, throws it away.
That looked like a Billy Kilmer pass.
Nash. Done, guarded by Pierce.
Nash doesn't have any room to breathe.
Buchwald.
That's good hustle. We talked about guys going to the basket, giving Nash some place to throw the ball.
Back comes Santa Clara. Nash. Just a quick step. LaFrenz with the rebound.
He got caught in the air and had to throw it up there. None of his teammates were open.
38-18. LaFrenz has 14.
1-3-1 zone for the Jayhawks.
Dunn tried to get it into Graves. Now Bookball. Graves denied. Dunn with the follow, though. Very alert play by Kevin Dunn.
Kansas defense is just stifling, though.
No easy buckets for Santa Clara. Pierce. No foul.
You'd like to run in transition. That's usually one way you can get some easy looks. But if you get in a transition game with Kansas, it's certainly not advisable. That's out of his range. Santa Clara looks tired. They're really dragging up and down the court.
Front court points. It's a big difference. Santa Clara needs to have the points as they did in the previous meeting.
We talked about Nash and Garnett having to score. Nash, no points, 0 for 6 from the field. Garnett has only 1 3-point basket, so the Santa Clara backcourt, which usually produces 30 points a game, has only produced 3.
Hugh is checked into the game, so has Rayford.
See who they give that ball to. I thought it was off the leg of Pierce, and that's the way they rule it.
So 1:56 left to play in the first half. It's a 20-point Kansas lead. Rayford. Last touch by Santa Clara. 6 seconds left on the shot clock.
The Jayhawks just haven't given Santa Clara the opportunity to get comfortable either offensively or defensively. They just keep swarming.
Pollard. Oh, what a tip in.
DJ Pugh.
Pugh, the freshman. Now Rayford will take on Nash.
Rayford also very quick, a little smaller. Maybe Nash can get his shot over.
Zurich blocked. Pugh comes away with it.
Where they come at you with quickness, they come at you with size.
Come at you with depth. Pass.
Foul number 31.
And coming up on Pennzoil at the half, Pat O'Brien and Clark Kellogg will get you caught up on all the tournament news, all the scores and highlights, plus a live look at action going on in the NCAA tournament. That's all coming up on Pennzoil at the half.
Into the Jayhawks lineup. For number 10, Kevin Rayford.
Lute Olson doing a little scouting.
His wife Bobby seated next to him. And Lute Olson has to be impressed with what he sees thus far of the Jayhawks of Kansas.
It's 9 now for Haas.
And Lute, the game ends, and they win the previous game against Iowa. And the coach always thinking, I was standing there talking to Lute and his players, and he told Ben Davis and Reggie Geary, hey, you know, next week is a Friday, Sunday too, so we'll have one extra day to get ready.
Well, Pugh put in some good minutes, and he takes a seat on the bench. Jay Williams comes in. So it's a 24-point Kansas lead. Pierce.
1-3-1 zone.
Well, that is what works so effectively for Santa Clara against Maryland, one of the few times that Nash is able to penetrate.
You have to respect that outside jump shot, and Nash doing a nice job making the fake and then finding the open man. Santa Clara needs to create some turnovers defensively. It's been too easy for Kansas on this end of the court.
Well, Pearson makes it look easy. 46-22. Now under 30 seconds remaining in the first half. Nash loses the handle. That's the second on Pollard. This is how they'll play it in Denver. Arizona awaiting the winner. Georgia, Syracuse already in the Sweet 16.
It's a very interesting region. The teams at the bottom of the bracket, Arizona and Kansas, look very strong to me. Georgia had a nice run through the tournament so far, and Syracuse from the Big East, certainly a formidable task for the Georgia Bulldogs.
The Broncos throw it away.
Number 12, Billy Thomas, into the Jayhawk side. Ryan Robertson and Sean Pearson.
So the West region has lost their top seed, but if this holds up, they're going to retain the 2 and 3 seeds. Well, we mentioned that Santa Clara needs to create some turnovers. Rayford never really got a handle on that one.
So Ryan Robertson will check in.
See, if you're Calvin Rayford and you do that right in front of the coach, you come out of the game.
Probably looking for a little more size on defense.
That's exactly right.
So that's the end of the first half with our score: Kansas 46, Santa Clara 22. CBS Sports exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station.
By Pennzoil. For more engine miles, Pennzoil works like liquid ball bearings.
He's trying to figure out how many halftimes we've done. We can't figure it out, but we're here again for another one. Pennzoil at the half. I'm Pat O'Brien along with Clark Kellogg. Our score at the half, 46-22, and Santa Clara just can't get anything done against Kansas.
Well, they missed 8 of their first 9 shots, Pat. When you do that against a team that's better than you, you're going to have a tough time winning.
A 10-2 game there, and another 10-2 game underway down in Milwaukee at the Bradley Center, but this time the 10 seed is on top, 32-24. Let's send you out to Milwaukee and Billy Packer and Jim Nance.
Reggie Freeman off on the 3.
Jim would be John Makovic, the head football coach at the University of Texas, was an alumnus of Wake Forest, where he was an outstanding quarterback there, but John did not show.
Former neighbor of Billy Packer.
That's right. Straight man, double teaming on the inside. Duncan just can't get the ball, and Texas off running again.
Yeah, Jordan grabs a good hold of it. And on the line, he had the back foot on the line to Reggie Freeman. 4:14 to go in the half. 32-24 Texas.
You know, it's kind of interesting. We saw Villanova in the first game today, very sluggish. Never could get into what seemed to be their normal flow. Wake Forest looking very much the same in this ball game. Take advantage of the quickness to Texas.
Allen from the line. And Dixon skies for the board.
The double down by Texas being very effective on Tim Duncan.
Freeman spins away from LaRue. Finds Dixon underneath, but a blocked foul called against Allen.
That's
Wake Forest.
That's the second one. Dave Odom thought it went the other way around. That's Allen going to be called. Or are they going to call it a charge now, reversing it? 40 shooting as opposed to 40 on the foul.
Yeah, well, Sean Allen thought for a moment he was being called for it. He ran in there to plead his case.
Well, we heard 40, and he pointed to him, but it meant 40 the shooter.
Well, they kind of gave a signal that indicated a block instead of a charge. All right, Minneapolis is the regional site for the Midwest. Kentucky plays Utah on Thursday, and Louisville will play the winner of this game. Louisville played Texas earlier this season, and the Cardinals won at Freedom Hall 101-78 against the Longhorns.
Jim, that was a game that Louisville set the all-time record of free throw shooting. They went to the free throw line. Perman had 18 points to lead Texas. They were down, what, 20-0 or 19-0?
Yeah, Louisville just lived at the line. Shot 59 free throws, I believe it was. Timeout on the floor. Texas by 7. Lamont Hill and the Longhorns come onto the floor with possession, leading by 7. Wake will pick up 3/4 court.
Jim, a relatively low-scoring game when you take in consideration Texas wants to run, but they've had control of it, getting about what they want anyway, even though it's not a game that looks like it's going to be up in the 80s or 90s.
Reggie Freeman.
Boy, he had a nice square up look there, not even guarded. You're talking about leading scorer in the league, left uncontested from 18 feet.
He has 13 now for the game.
Good double team by Texas, picking up, keeping that ball out of Tim Duncan's hands. Jordan doing a nice job staying in front of him.
Braswell gets the roll.
But it looks like it's going to be Braswell as opposed to Rutland. Rutland sitting on that bench really hasn't shown any signs he can get it going. And Jim, as you pointed out earlier, has not made a field goal in an NCAA tournament in 2 years.
0 for 10 in 3 games last year, and including a miss today. 0 for 4 in the first 2 rounds this year.
And that's kind of scary when you're talking about the second leading scorer on a ball club.
Bill caught off balance, and Duncan secures.
And challenging Duncan, they figure Wake Forest not going to try to run on him. Braswell can be an explosive scorer.
Ball gives it up, and Duncan. You talk about a foul. Dixon wrestles him to the floor.
He wanted to make sure he didn't get the layup up. They're not going to call it intentional. Figure that he was going for the ball some. There he is going for the ball, but afterwards pulled him down. I don't know if I'd agree with that call, Jim.
How many points would you get for that move in real wrestling?
You know, after the play, he pulls him down to the floor. Now, they make a mistake here. It is not on Freeman. It's on Dixon.
And they got it. Dixon's first.
Yeah, Freeman thought he just picked up one. He wasn't even in the play. He's 32. Dixon 33.
So, based on what you've seen here, Billy, as we near the end of the first half, Tim Duncan, 75% or less?
I'd say less. I really would. I've seen the young man play an awful lot of ball games, and I would say that he's down 50 to 60% of his normal.
He makes his first free throw in 4 attempts.
All right, so Texas now leads Wake Forest 34-28 in that 10-2 game in the first half, and that might be an exciting finish. There was some excitement in Richmond in the East earlier today as North Carolina got dumped by Texas Tech, but a backboard was broken, and here's how that went.
All Sasser. Oh, look at him! Oh! That's one way to bring the house down. Bring the rim down.
Darvin, tell us what happened on that shattering of the backboard.
Oh, man, the shot went up. I saw it bouncing off, and Jamesy tried to put a little body on me, and I tried to clear it out just as much as I could, and I just skied, man, and I bobbled it a little bit. But the players were teasing me before the game, talking about, man, you got to break a backboard. What's up? What's up? But I just came down on it as hard as I could, man, and I couldn't believe it.
Have you ever done that before?
Never. I've broken some rims, but never shattered the glass.
Now, what happens if they send you the bill to pay for that backboard?
Oh, man. I'm going to have to work hard, man. You know, we struggles on scholarship, but it's all right, though.
Congratulations on the great game, Darvin.
Lot.
Good luck to you in the Sweet 16.
Oh, thanks a lot.
His nickname is Ham Dunk, and no, we will not send him the bill. Texas
Well, I know
Tech,
about struggling on scholarship.
Then Texas Tech shattered North Carolina's dreams to get back into the Sweet 16, 92-73. Let's get everybody up to date on what's going to happen this week in college basketball. Our coverage begins on 7:30 Thursday night. Arkansas and UMass and Texas Tech and Georgetown. Allen Iverson is peaking.
Yes, sir, he certainly is. You take a look at those matchups. Both of them will be up and down the court.
Then in the Midwest, Utah and Kentucky and Louisville, and the winner of this game, Texas and Wake Forest. Now on Friday, in the Southeast, the regional semifinals, Mississippi State and Connecticut without Ricky Moore, and then Georgia Tech and Cincinnati.
That should be good. Cincinnati wants to bang and be physical. Georgia Tech had as good a game as I've seen from an offensive team in the tournament today.
All right, then out in the West, it's Georgia and Syracuse and Arizona versus the winner of Santa Clara and Kansas. Thank you for joining us on Pennzoil at the Half. Hope you're enjoying your college basketball on CBS. We'll see you a little bit later.
Pennzoil at the Half was sponsored by CBS Sports. Exclusive coverage of the NCAA Basketball Championship is sponsored by Genuine Chevrolet, Doritos, Northwest Airlines, and by Goodyear.
Back in Tempe, where Kansas leads Santa Clara by 24. Bill McAtee along with Dan Bonner. Let's take a look, Dan, at the halftime numbers. And one of the things that stands out, Santa Clara shooting just 26%. That's really a tribute to the Kansas defense.
The Kansas defense has been outstanding, and not only has it been outstanding, they've done it without fouling. There's that 26% you're talking about, but down here, the free throw attempts, Santa Clara attempted 41 free throws against Maryland in the first round, so the Kansas defense doing a nice job keeping Santa Clara from getting any good shots and keeping them out of the lane. Now, as an exclamation point for that defensive effort, Steve Nash, who had 28 points in the first round, hasn't scratched yet today, and Kansas well on their way to another big blowout win in this tournament.
Remember, Kansas beat South Carolina State 92-54 on Friday. Santa Clara has it to start the second half.
Obviously, if you're the Broncos and you're going to get back into this game, you need to start the second half well, and there the ball squirts away.
And that is not the way you wanted to start the second half. This is Haas now to LaFrance. Kicks it back out to Haas. Vaughn takes the three. Pierce comes down with it.
Oh, what a move.
LaFrance strong to the bucket, and he's fouled by Graves. That's two now on Graves.
You know, Bill, we talked about Kansas' big win in the opening round in the first round. Arizona also in this region, in this site, with a 39-point win. Kansas with 38. They're up 24 at halftime in this round, so Kansas could have a first-round knockout and a second-round knockout.
Arizona's win came against Valparaiso. Valparaiso playing in their very first NCAA tournament. That's 15 now for LaFrance. So now it's 47-22 Kansas. Done. Garnett, the three.
Jared Haas came off a screen and put great pressure on Garnett shooting the ball. I think Haas may have even gotten a finger on Garnett's shot attempt.
Santa Clara keeps it. Garnett, now Nash. Sedlock hits the three, and that's what Santa Clara will need to do.
Sedlock's first points of the game.
Final game of the West Regional in Tempe. Kansas on top of Santa Clara, 47-25. Kansas in the white, Santa Clara in the Bronco red. This is Jared Haas. To Pierce.
Pollard and Sedlock really battling one another inside.
Kansas led by 24 at the half. Three won't go. Nash is fouled, and they're going to get Pierce.
And Roy Williams, despite the 22-point lead, very upset with his team that they did not get a better shot in that particular situation. Haas took that three-pointer right in front of his coach, but only because the clock was running down.
Drew Zurich will check in for Brendan Graves.
Roy Williams telling his team, move the ball and move yourselves. And that's sort of Kansas offense in capsule right there. Oh, Vaughn almost got that one.
Sedlock over LaFrance. Pollard with a rebound. Pierce for three, in and out. Pollard with a follow. That's 7 now for Pollard.
When Kansas runs in transition and takes the wide open quick shot in transition, it's almost impossible to block them out. Haas gets knocked down again. Haas comes up limping.
Done. That's 9 now for Kevin Dunn. So a couple of threes for Santa Clara.
Sedlock going to get called for the foul. Jared Haas has spent as much time on his backside as he has on his feet. That time he just gets drilled by Sedlock coming off the screen.
3 on Zurich now. Pierce goes out.
But Haas, to his credit, he got up, and even though he was limping, he still almost got the steal as he went for the double team. Most guys, most guys, when they get hurt, they recover on offense, not on defense.
That's Pearson with the ball. He's checked in. Pollard, Santa Clara obviously playing a lot more aggressively. That is 4, though, on Zurich. So Graves will come back in, and Zurich will go to the bench.
Santa Clara cannot afford to be passive, either on offense or on defense. For Zurich, though, that wasn't a real good foul that far from the basket.
Tipped away by Nash. Pass. Down low, LaFrance.
Sedlock is going to pick up that foul.
The second on Jason Sedlock.
Basically, when you're guarding a guy like LaFrance, the officials will probably let you body him an awful lot until he catches the ball. Once he catches the ball, all eyes, they focus on the basketball, and you're not going to get away with very many bumps.
Pearson guarded by Dunn. Vaughn. 3 won't go. Let's see who they got. It'll be on Pearson. That's his first. Second team foul.
Kansas hasn't been able to get out in transition nearly as much in the first couple minutes of this half as they were in the first half, and Santa Clara in a more half-court game is faring a little bit better. Graves now picks up the foul. Illegal screen.
3rd on Graves.
And it's the effort of Jacques Vaughn that draws the attention of the officials to this particular play. Graves is going to step in, and Vaughn trying to fight through there, draws the attention of the official and draws the foul.
Kansas will keep it. Last touch by Sedlock. Santa Clara already with 5 team fouls. LaFrance. Pearson guarded by Garnett.
Garnett didn't want to get his hands on him out there.
They got the mismatch with Pollard down low. Now Graves picks it up. Under 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Haas takes it. Here comes Santa Clara. 49-28. Nash.
And I think that's a very significant play for Steve Nash. He's not going to go to the free throw line, but it's very important for him to try to get Jacques Vaughn to back off by penetration to the basket. Vaughn does not get in position. That's ruled a block on Vaughn. It's 2 fouls on Vaughn. Nash went to the free throw line 18 times yesterday. He hasn't been there today.
Sedlock. Partially blocked. Sedlock tries to save it. Here comes Kansas, 4 on 2. Well, Haas did a good job keeping possession.
Haas just battles you every step of the way.
Pollard. Haas.
Well, I'm telling you, we've got some kind of a scramble going on now.
Timeout on the floor. 15:36 left.
As the Broncos of Santa Clara try to battle back from a big deficit, they have turned up the defensive intensity a couple of notches. Big scrambles inside. Dunn does a nice job knocking it off Pollard out of bounds. Kansas shooting only 1 for 6 in the second half. And interestingly enough, the Bronco defense has forced Kansas 5 of the 6 Kansas shots are 3-point shots.
Lead of 24 at halftime. Now down to 19. Santa Clara trying to whittle away.
that's the way you have to cut into a big deficit. You're not going to get it all back in a couple of possessions.
That was tipped away by Pearson. Shot clock now under 10. Nash. Sedlock. He's fouled, and that's the second on Pearson.
And where Santa Clara has really needed somebody to be active on the inside for him, Sedlock has taken over that task in the second half. Sedlock playing very well for Santa Clara.
LaFrentz goes out. Williams checks in. Done underneath the Graves.
Graves did a great job getting position and then maintaining it. That's the second time today that Vaughn has been called for a foul, in effect bouncing off Graves.
And that's 3 on Vaughn. Graves to Dunn. Garnett comes away with it.
And there's Sedlock again. He's in the middle of everything inside. Roy Williams turns his back and starts walking toward the end line. Not happy with the way things are going right now. Even though his team has the big lead, I think he senses that they're not playing as well as they were previously.
So Pearson picks up a couple of quick fouls. He's got 3 now.
Hey, Scott, you low.
Battle for it. Here comes Kansas.
That's
Last
good
touch by
defense.
Santa Clara.
Good defense in transition. And that's a backcourt that averages more than 30 points a game.
Garnett got a piece of it. Substitutions now for the Broncos. Adam Anderson checks in, and so does Lloyd Pierce. Dunn and Garnett will take a blow. Tipped away by Anderson, last touch by Kansas. Good defense off the bench by Adam Anderson. Anderson, by the way, is a guy who broke his nose in practice last week. So during his practices here, he's been wearing a face guard, chooses not to in the games. And here goes Nash penetrating. Well, they get Williams.
They get Williams trying to prevent Nash's penetration. Vaughn out of the game. Nash takes it to the basket. Williams tried to step in, didn't quite get there in time. And that is now 17 fouls on the Jayhawks. And so Steve Nash finally going to get the opportunity to go to the free throw line. Remember, he is scoreless in this game.
On the floor for Kansas, Pierce, Williams, Pollard, Hess, and Vaughn. So Nash is finally on the board, and take a look at what he did against the Terrapins. Penetrating pretty much at will.
Getting to the free throw line was a big factor in his success against Maryland in the first round.
The pressure from Santa Clara. Kansas breaks it easily. Now they try to trap Pierce, and it's knocked away by Nash. Williams trailing. They got him for the foul. That's 2 on Williams.
Good hustle by Nash. This is actually a pretty good foul by Williams. He's fortunate that Nash didn't make the basket one, and number 2, that he wasn't called for an intentional foul.
Dunn comes in now for Sedlock.
And Roy Williams going to get an entirely new group in the game.
Five new players waiting to come in. It's going to be Thomas, Rayford will come in. LaFrentz comes back in. Ryan Robertson and TJ Pugh will be the 5th.
Roy Williams is having some things to say to that group that he just took out of the game. I don't know that I'd want to be sitting over there at the moment.
49-32. Trap. Well, they get it to LaFrance. Hung up in the air and turns it over. And here comes Santa Clara. 3 for Nash. Follow won't go. Rayford comes down with it. Thomas. That was a big swing right there.
Nash missing the 3 and then Thomas converting it.
Kansas lead is back to 20. Graves was open, but he couldn't hang on. Robertson comes up. With Thomas. Sees Pugh. Gets the roll. That's 4 for Pugh, the freshman.
Good strength inside by Kansas. You know, the Jayhawks are a team that last year, after they got knocked out of the NCAA tournament by Virginia, they felt like Virginia was just more physical than they were. The Jayhawks really hit the weight room this summer, and they are very, very strong inside.
Nash. Pierce with the 3. It's 5 now for Pierce.
Nice rebound by Nash.
Thomas comes away with it.
And we got a technical foul on Dick Davey. Dick Davey very, very upset that there was not a foul called.
Number 24, Marlon Garnett into the Broncos lineup for number 12, Adam Anderson.
That's good. Play better, coach. You guys squared out.
Team foul number 6, Robertson will shoot the technical free throws.
So Robertson will shoot the technicals.
Dick Davey was upset that there was no foul called against Calvin Rayford. Rayford battling against Pierce on that transition opportunity.
Makes them both.
Stay up now.
So 56-35. Pugh. Rayford, nice move to the basket. This is Robertson. Well, he makes up for missing one of the fouls. That's 4 now. He hits the 3. Nash tries to answer. Does. 59-38.
Kansas is going to try to get it inside to one of the big guys.
Pugh.
That's not the shot that Roy Williams wanted.
Garnett. Nash. Done. Won't go. Rayford comes away with it. And back comes Kansas.
It's really been a struggle on the offensive end for Santa Clara. That was a wide open shot.
Rayford. Guarded by Nash.
And Rayford stepped on the line.
11 minutes left to play in Tempe. Roy Williams talking it over with his front line. He's seen his Jayhawks get out to a 59-38 lead over Santa Clara. And there's Wanda Williams, his wife, looking on. Garnett, guarded by Robertson. Nash gets it back. That was almost a turnover. Garnett for 3. That doesn't go. Robertson with the rebound. by Thomas doesn't go, and back comes Santa Clara. Nash will take the three. Under 10.5 minutes remaining. 59-38 Kansas. A nifty move by Rayford. Thomas. This is Pugh.
Man-to-man defense. Boy, Sedlock really battling on the inside. Nash not quitting either.
Robertson, now Rayford. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Robertson will take a three. Pugh with the rebound, and he's fouled. They get Zerk, and that'll be it for him. 5 fouls.
That's the limit. 17 foul.
Good job, buddy.
That's really a tough break for Santa Clara. They did a great job on the defensive end. They forced Kansas to run down the shot clock and then forced them into a difficult opportunity, but T.J. Pugh in great position for the rebound.
Adam Anderson comes in now. You saw the fresh legs for Kansas. You know, it's interesting because Rayford can spell Vaughn, but Santa Clara doesn't have anybody to spell Nash.
And one of the things that Dick Davies doing right now is going with a smaller lineup. Anderson coming in, Brendan Graves staying on the bench despite the fact that it was a big guy who went out of the game.
Anderson.
And that is typical of the way this game has gone for Santa Clara. Anderson out ahead of the pack, caught the ball, but as soon as he did, there were 4 white shirts jumping at him. He's going to get an opportunity from the free throw line, but nothing has been easy for Santa Clara.
Pollard comes in for Pugh. Still 21-point Kansas lead. They led by 24 at the half. Anderson only a 51% free throw shooter.
And after converting 34 of 41 from the free throw line in the first round, Santa Clara struggling from the line here.
He misses them both. Pollard comes away with it. Anderson had a career high of 16 points in the 5-point win over Georgia Tech by Santa Clara. That was at the end of December. Out to Anderson. He'll slow it down. Kansas does a good job getting back. Dunn. Garnett. And they'll get Williams. And that's his third.
Foul number 22, P.J. Williams, his third, 10th team foul.
And that's the 10th team foul against Roy Williams Ball Club. Santa Clara has been able to draw the fouls with a very aggressive offensive game in the second half, in marked contrast to their first half, where they were a little bit passive.
Now Santa Clara just 6 of 12. And now it's a 20-point Kansas lead. Pierce. Santa Clara trying to apply the pressure inside. Pollard, that's stripped away. Last touch by Santa Clara.
Pollard inside, matched up against Kevin Dunn. Dunn 6'6", 205 pounds. Pollard 6'10", 240.
Vaughn guarded by Nash. Pierce keeps it.
Pierce, a very fluid ball handler, the freshman from California, part of that California connection.
The first on Anderson.
Paul Pierce to the line in the 1-on-1.
Pierce will shoot the 1-on-1. Pollard can't convert the follow, but Williams does.
But Pollard gets that big body in there. Dick Davey going with the smaller lineup in an attempt to exert more pressure, and Kansas taking advantage on the inside.
7 for Williams now. 61-39. Just over 8.5 minutes left to play.
What a great job Pass has done on Garnett.
Garnett. Sedlock gives it to Dunn, and Dunn is fouled.
Kansas defense really helps one another well. Santa Clara draws the foul, but again, nothing easy.
Third on Pollard. Nash will take a blow. They'll bring in Lloyd Pierce.
It has been an uphill struggle for Dick Davies, senior point guard today. Quick look at Nash on the bench, a young man who just about everybody thinks is going to be able to play very successfully in the NBA after his college career is concluded. Young fellow was not recruited at all.
Santa Clara trying to pressure Vaughn, throws it out there. Pierce comes up with it. Just get it across the line. Williams, he walked.
Roy Williams' squad has not been nearly as effective on offense as they were in the first half, but you know the defensive pressure and intensity hasn't changed a bit. Santa Clara has been unable to take advantage.
Garnett. Strong move. That's 6 now for Garnett. 61-42. Just under 8 minutes left. With his second.
The Kansas movement on offense really creates mismatches inside as the Broncos have to switch. That time Pollard, 6'10", 240, 250 pounds. He gets himself planted down on the block against Adam Anderson, 6'5", 200 pounds. And Anderson simply can't move Pollard out of the way and gets called for the foul.
Nash comes back in. So does Brendan Graves. He'll come in for Sedlock. 9 team fouls on Santa Clara. Pollard makes the front end of the 1-and-1. So once again, it's a 20-point Kansas lead. .739 left to play in Tempe. The SEC with 4 teams in the Sweet 16, and with Iowa losing today to Arizona, all 5 Big Ten teams are out of the tournament.
Very impressive performance by the SEC. Speaking of impressive performances, the Kansas defense has held Santa Clara to 28% shooting for the game.
Well, the Friends now will check in, and Williams will have a seat.
Indication of how Kansas has struggled offensively in this half. Santa Clara defense has been very good. Unfortunately for the Broncos, they have not been able to take advantage.
That won't go. Pollard comes away with a rebound. Nash. Blocked by Pollard. But Nash is everywhere. Like Vaughn, so quick, slices across the middle.
And he just threw that one away.
Well, he's trying to hit Graves, and Graves took a step in the other direction.
Pollard does a great job with the blocked shot, but he's a shot blocker, not a passer.
play by Pierce. Garnett.
And Dunn is going to get called for the foul. Pierce went right at Pollard, and as soon as he saw who it was, he tried to pass the ball. He wasn't going to get another one knocked out of there. And Dunn.
Number 34, Kevin Dunn, his
Second on Dunn.
Pierce makes a great steal from behind and then pitches the ball ahead, and now Pierce. Well, this is Garnett, not Pierce. Garnett catches the ball, and he just loses it, and there Dunn wrestles Haas to the ground. Pollard's blocked shot the previous trip got the attention of Marlon Garnett. He lost the handle going up. It's been a long afternoon for Kevin Dunn as well.
2 shots. Kansas in the double bonus. The numbers on Haas.
Those are his first points of the second half.
Now 3 of 3 from the line as Anderson checks in for Lloyd Pierce. 6:47 left to play. Kansas by 22. Kansas came out and scored the first 12 points of the game. And it has not been close since. Graves matched up against Pollard. Jacques Vaughn comes away with a turnover, and I think he took a shot in the eye.
Got poked in the eye. You know, you mentioned Kansas coming out and scoring the first 12 points of the game and really taking control of the game. That's something that the Jayhawks did in both of the games they've played here at this sub-regional. That's also something that Arizona did. There's Linny Vaughn, Jacques Vaughn's mother, concerned about her son. But Arizona did the same thing. Arizona came out and jumped right on Iowa in today's ball game and jumped right on Valparaiso in the first round game.
Vaughn. Plenty of time left on the shot clock. Good defense, though, by Santa Clara. Now under 10 seconds. 5 on the shot clock. Haas takes the 3. Here comes Nash. Last touch by Kansas. Not a great pass, but you have a feeling that Nash is starting to press a little bit, trying to make anything happen.
This is a pass that you'd have to expect that Kansas wouldn't be getting back quite so effectively on defense, ahead by so much. There, Nash has more points, but Nash needs to score much more than 7. So I think that point guard matchup really goes to Vaughn.
Nash for 3. And here comes Haas. Crowd wanted a foul on Nash. They won't get it.
Haas is one tough customer out there.
Vaughn guarded by Garnett. Haas, the give and go to Williams. Williams is fouled. That's 3 now on Dunn.
Foul number 34, Kevin Dunn, in the bonus. Timeout, Broncos.
Santa Clara, they'll take a timeout with 5:26 left to play. 65-42, 23-point Kansas lead. Jayhawks trying to close the suitcase for a trip to Denver.
And the suitcase is pretty well closed. All they've got to do is lock it, I think, really. And that'll be an interesting matchup in Denver. That'll be a game that there'll be quite a wind chill factor on the, if you're courtside with seats there in Denver, as Arizona and Kansas get up and down.
Okay, guys, 2.
Williams will take 2. That's 8 now for Williams. Well, Dan, if you're Roy Williams, you've got to be pleased with the first 2 games of the tournament for your Jayhawks.
Pierce is going to get the foul. Well, Roy Williams, if you look at him on the bench at the moment, Bill, he does not look very pleased. His team has really struggled in this second half offensively. They ran out to the big lead in the first half, but offensively they really have struggled, and that fouling the three-point shooter is just a bad decision, and no coach ever likes to see that. Somebody better go over and check on Roy. And I tell you what, I think that the source of his concern is the fact that he knows that there have been times this year when his team has struggled offensively. And here he's to the point now in the NCAA tournament where they just can't afford those offensive struggles. He was sitting there with Dick Davey watching Arizona just dismantle Iowa. And he knows that his team has to play the way they did in the first half to be able to compete with the Wildcats.
Pierce takes it all the way. 5 for Pierce. 69-43. Sedlock for 3. Pierce. Dunn gets the rebound, and here comes Nash.
Pierce really forced that play. Jacques Vaughn was behind him yelling, slow down, and he didn't do it. Of course, let's take a quick spin around the East region. That will be in Atlanta. The University of Massachusetts against Arkansas. Arkansas, one of the surprising teams in the tournament. They play that style that's difficult for anybody. Texas Tech and Georgetown, the 3 seed against the 2 seed. Texas Tech, I think, surprising everybody with the way they drilled North Carolina today. I think everyone looking forward to a potential UMass-Georgetown regional final. That is everyone except Texas Tech and Arkansas.
Comes Santa Clara. Hard to think of Arkansas as an underdog.
Yes, it is. Arkansas, with all those freshmen, with the losses that they've had, particularly during the season. Just an outstanding job by Nolan Richardson to get his kids in a position there they find themselves in.
Thomas kicks it back out to Vaughn. Tipped away, great hustle by Vaughn. Under 10 seconds now, the shot clock. Pierce. 1 second left on the shot clock. Pierce gets his own rebound. They'll go to the arrow. And Roy takes a run down the bench.
Roy Williams can afford to smile. The Broncos, no smiles over there.
Vaughn, short. Dunn gets it, brings it up the floor. Under 3.5 minutes remaining. Sedlock. That won't go.
And as we anticipate next weekend in the Southeast region, that'll be in Lexington, Kentucky, Friday, Sunday. On Friday, Connecticut, another #1 seed, still remaining in the tournament. They'll be going against one of those Southeastern Conference schools, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech against Cincinnati, another 2 versus 3 game. That, again, on Friday in Lexington.
Bearcats in the game today. There's Roy Williams. And still looks concerned despite the 69-43 lead.
And talking a little bit about that Southeast region. Interesting, Cincinnati, a very aggressive, hard-nosed defensive team against Georgia Tech, one of the more fluid offensive teams.
We want to take you down to Milwaukee, where Wake Forest has clawed its way back into this game and now leads Texas 63-62, a minute 52 left and a 20-second timeout, Clark Kellogg.
Well, Wake Forest has controlled the tempo here in the second half. That's the reason they've been able to get back in it. Texas was on pace to get into the 80s based on what they did in the first half. Wake Forest has idled the game down, gotten some big three-point shots to go, and right now they've gotten their first lead of the second half.
Texas came out loaded, running all up and down the court, big fast-paced game, and now Wake Forest is trying to get control of this thing.
Well, Billy Packer made a good point. Texas was extended by Michigan the other night. Clearly, they look to be a little more tired here in the last few possessions.
Billy Packer always makes good points.
That's why he's called an analyst.
Let's listen in and see if he's going to make any more as this game winds down. Jim Nantz and Billy Packer.
1-point lead. And it is Alvarado back in the game, fully rested now with Duncan. Goolsby and Freeman.
Wake's first lead since 5-3 in the opening minute and a half.
I think LaRue can let Perriman have that one from that far out.
Alvarado on the right side.
Clack is quicker than Peral. There he goes.
Clack to the rack. Too strong. Alvarado battles, but into the arms of Braswell. 1:20 to go. Timeout, Wake Forest. Full timeout. So the 2 seed in the Midwest has fought back.
All right, you bet. We'll keep our eye on that one for you. A 1-point game in Milwaukee. Let's send you back to Tempe and Kansas and Santa Clara and Bill McAdee.
Jayhawks on their way to Denver and a date with Arizona in the Sweet 16. 73-45 over the 10 seed Santa Clara.
A very valiant effort by the Broncos, but just Kansas just dominating from the first part of this game defensively. Santa Clara did a nice job defensively at the start of the second half, really disrupted the Kansas offense, but the Kansas defense solid all afternoon, and that was really the difference in this game.
Just 7, now 8 for Garnett. But Garnett and Nash both in single figures.
Garnett with 8, Nash with 7. That's 15. That's exactly half of what those 2 young men averaged during the course of the season. And Sedlock bounces Robertson out of bounds.
3-0.
Foul number 30, Jason Sedlock.
Third on Sedlock.
Number 14, Ben Willett.
Ben Willett now will check in for Santa Clara.
For the Broncos. Replacing number 24, Garland Garnett.
Garnett will go out. A hug from his teammate Steve Nash. Ryan Robertson, highly recruited out of St. Charles, Missouri. 3-time All-Stater in basketball and played number 1 on his tennis team.
He's really come on for the Jayhawks this year. He was named to the Big 8 Conference All-Tournament team.
Think about it, there's not really anybody who hasn't come on.
Pat O'Brien in New York. Let's reset Milwaukee once again. Wake Forest has a 1-point lead over Texas and the ball. A minute 16 left in the ball game. Let's go to Billy Packer and Jim Nantz.
Texas has brought in Vasquez and Jordan. Wake with possession, inbounding midcourt. 1-point lead, 1:16 remaining.
Jim, dangerous pass here with all that quickness on the floor for Texas.
LaRue, Peral, Duncan, Braswell, and Goolsby on the floor for Wake. And they have a lot of fouls to give here, Billy.
See, that's why I said it was dangerous. You have fouls to give. You can go and try to make aggressive steals on the inbound passes, as opposed to what he did right there. That's just a cheap one.
Goolsby to inbound. That's only 3 team fouls on Texas. There's another one. Jordan committing that one.
I don't know why they're doing this now. I think you should save them, play solid defense, and save them a little bit.
Now they're going to bring in Alvarado for Jordan.
I mean, go for the steal on the pass. Have one man back to block anything else, but they're going to put Wake Forest in a position to be able to go to the line.
Third time they force him to inbound it on this trip. Again, no problem getting it in.
Alvarado with a hand check and steal.
Alvarado got his hands on it. Ball's on the floor, and Goolsby comes up with it. And they beat the 10 count. They never changed the shot clock, so the 22 on the shot clock. They just got it across in time, Billy.
I thought we saw about 3 fouls on that sequence.
That's the third on Freeman, but only the 5th.
Now what this also is doing, Jim, is taking time off the clock on all of these possessions.
Still 2 away from a 1-on-1. LaRue open. He'll go back outside with it. Texas. Oh, no puck. Texas makes the steal. And a timeout called by Clack.
No call on the play.
52.
Exciting game in Milwaukee. We'll get you back to the moment. In the meantime, let's take you back to Tempe. While there's a pause here for your game, we'll see you in a second.
Battle for it underneath. Santa Clara. Jam by Lloyd Pierce. Now under 45 seconds. Kansas on their way to Denver, where they'll play Arizona. Arizona looked very tough today against Iowa. Now a disappointing conclusion to the tournament, but a great win against Maryland on Friday. Take a look at who is going to Denver. Friday, Sunday games.
And we have that 2-3 matchup. Arizona and Kansas. Based on what we have seen here this weekend, Bill, that ought to be an outstanding game. Syracuse, the 4 seed, also remains in the West. And they'll go up against the University of Georgia, the Bulldogs knocking out the #1 seed, Purdue.
And our genuine Chevrolet players of the games are Kevin Dunn from Santa Clara and Rafe LaFrentz from Kansas. LaFrentz, 19 points. High percentage shots from Rafe LaFrentz. But it was a great game for the entire Kansas team.
And the Kansas players still working at it. On the defensive end, Thomas gets called for the foul.
Anderson and Nash. Harry Hoffman.
All right, they're about ready. 1:44 left in Milwaukee. Texas with the ball, down by 1. Wake Forest 63, Texas 62. The winner here goes to the Sweet 16. 50 seconds left.
Got the ball.
Reggie Freeman. They'll let him operate on Goolsby. Now over to Hill. .15 on the shot clock. 10 on the shot clock. Freeman slashing to the basket. Gives it up. Missing the layup inside.
Now they've got a foul. Boy, Alvarado was right there, Jim. A terrific pass. And he just couldn't finish it off.
You couldn't have set it up any better. Freeman got him to commit. Alvarado came in and felt the presence of Duncan, I guess.
Well, the presence was there, but still he had a chance to put it away.
Still 21.8 seconds to go. Timeout called by Wake Forest. Texas would put Wake on the line for a 1-and-1. Goolsby on the floor has, oddly enough, the worst free throw percentage, 53%. Here's LaRue, doubled up. What's the call here?
Timeout Wake Forest.
Timeout Wake. He got pinned in the corner. 2 seconds elapsed. We'll be right back. Wake Forest down 12 in the second half. It's come back to take a 1-point lead. No more timeouts for the Demon Deacons. They do have the arrow. Jim Nance and Billy Packer courtside. How about a little strategy here?
Well, Jim, you notice Tim Duncan took the ball out of the bounds last time. They tried to run a crossing pattern to get LaRue as the man that would catch the ball in bounds because he's their best free throw shooter, which is very good strategy. But now, without any timeouts left, they're going to have to advance the ball. Texas, as we pointed out earlier, a much quicker team. Now, what I think Wake is doing, I think this is good strategy, is to have Tim Duncan be the guy that catches the ball in case everything goes haywire. And they move Freeman over on him because Duncan has good hands and can play above.
Tough place to inbound from, too.
And Clack is an excellent leaper down in that corner. And he cannot move either. Here comes Duncan. He'll throw up high. That's what I anticipated.
And Duncan will go to the line for a 1-on-1 with 18.4 seconds remaining.
That was a very subtle change in strategy by Dave Odom, realizing with no timeouts left, where is my safety net? And that net was to throw over the top of the press to the man with the good hands.
But not having a good day at the line, only 1 for 4. In fact, the Wake team is only 10 of 18 in this game. A 1-and-1.
That's a problem that has been Texas's problem this year, shooting 55% in their losses.
Texas calls a timeout. Longhorns are left with 1. Well, 60 minutes is coming up next, except on the West Coast. Ed Bradley with a report on Muhammad Ali. 1-and-1. Tim Duncan. Rebound into the hands of Goolsby. 2 Texas players had a clean shot at that rebound.
Now, Tim Duncan has had that problem on the line before in some tight ball games. A big break for Wake Forest. The smallest guy out there comes up with a rebound.
That was the 3rd foul on Hill. And watch this.
Good follow through by Duncan. It was all over. Probably Peral getting a piece of it, and Clack had it bounce off an elbow.
Jordan just didn't get up that high. He should have had the rebound. 1-and-1 now for Goolsby. 53% on the season. You'd never know it with that one.
How about that, Jim? A 68% free throw shooter gives up to a 53% shooter.
Now another big one. 16.3 seconds remaining. Try to extend the lead to 3.
And Wake has a foul to give. How about that?
Never touched the rim on either one of them. A 3 needed to tie.
They have a foul to give here. Think of Perriman for one of those threes.
They call on Jordan to set a screen, but Duncan's up high on him. 4 seconds to go. Freeman, too strong, tipped up into the hands of Duncan. Wake Forest is heading on to the Sweet 16.
Some comeback, a complete change in the second half.
In Minneapolis, Kentucky will play Utah. It'll be Louisville against Wake Forest. The genuine Chevrolet players of the game are Chris Clack from Texas and Rusty LaRue from Wake Forest. Well, the big fella wasn't 100%. He should be next week. Folks, we'll look forward to having you back with us on the road to the Final Four. Jim Nance for all of us. So long from CBS.